Back out on the trail again. So I wasn't going to record today, but I tried out a new trail and you guys have to see this view. Hold on, check this out. With views like that, how can you not record a video? So here I am. So let's go over some things. I mean, this is my second kind of longer ride. The first ride was, I don't know, I think 6 miles or something like that. And so far right now, I'm about 12 miles into this ride and I'm pretty far from home. So it's gonna be a little bit. I'm also trying out a new app that a subscriber and fellow YouTuber, Don Juan, turned me on to. So he notified me about this app. I saw it in a video and he was gracious enough to share it with me. Thank you very much, Don Juan. This thing's working out well. This is my first time using it, so stay tuned to the end of the video to see exactly what I'm talking about. Hopefully it works out. So in this video I figured that I would kind of do an initial impression after my first couple rides and talk about what I like about the Evolve and what I don't. So let's start off with the buying process. The buying process is phenomenal. So they have a very well built website. You go on, they're really quick to answer any of your questions. Everything about the buying process was very pleasant, especially considering that they are willing to give my subscribers a discount code. It's discount code RAMA, R-A-M-A. Yeah, I mean, everything that I'm asking them back and forth, all the email transaction, they were super fast at responding to them. Buying the board was awesome. You can log into your account and see the status of your board for about 4 days there, unfulfilled, and then it shipped. So I ordered it Sunday evening / night, and I got it the following Sunday morning. So, well, at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And what really surprised me is that FedEx delivered it on a Sunday. I've never seen FedEx deliver on a Sunday. So the buying process was awesome. Unpacking the board, it was very well packed. The box is really nice. If you're one of the box people that you like to see really well packaging, you're going to be over the moon with the Evolve. Everything went packed into, so everything that supports the board, the charger, the remote, everything, the tools, they were all packed into this cool little case, which was actually really awesome. So I personally think that case is a waste of money. I really appreciate the little case that the remote comes in, but the big case, I mean, once I take the battery charger and the Y tool and put it in my backpack, there's really no reason to carry that, right? So I leave the battery charger at home. I'm not carrying that with me. I don't know, I just think it's kind of a waste of money. But included in that was a whole bunch of little extra bolts and screws for the board, which I think is amazing. Any other board manufacturer, take note of that. There's probably 1 or 2 extra nuts or bolts for everything on the board, every screw, which is awesome. What's not awesome is that there were no extra belts or pulleys. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. I mean, you pay over $1,800 when all is said and done. I had to pay taxes in Colorado. You have to pay sales tax even on online purchases. So I had to pay taxes on it. Just the taxes alone were $130. So I'm paying all this money, but you can't include an extra set of belts at the very least. And why not throw a set of your 38T pulleys in the box? I don't know. So that I didn't like. So I got the board out of the box and I was instantly satisfied with the overall construction, the way the board looked, the way it felt, everything about the board. You can tell that Evolve have been doing this for 10 years and they really focus on their fit and finish. The board looks phenomenal. Just everything about it was awesome. So then I got on it and went for my first ride. Let's talk about the board and then we'll go into other things. The bushings on that board are phenomenal. I love the bushing. I didn't really understand why Evolve had an entire kit where you could swap out bushing and try different stuff, and that it cost $100. After riding the bushings, I kind of understand it. I don't think I would spend $100 on a set of bushing when I'm only going to use 1 or 2 sets out of there, but I understand why it costs that much. The bushings are amazing. The urethane wheels, they're the best I've tried so far. I'm still not a huge fan of urethane wheels, but I can understand why some people are. These wheels are actually really good. On asphalt, they're really good. On smooth asphalt, they're like glass, man. They're butter. They're amazing. But on rough asphalt, they're still pretty good. The only place that I don't like the urethane wheels is on sidewalks. The cracks are still very sharp and jarring, but I'm riding them for now. I'll do a couple tests on them and then they're going to get swapped out. So overall, think that I like the buying process. I like the fit and finish. I like the feel of the board. It is very quiet. I now understand why people think that the Onsra loud. That doesn't bother me. I don't care about that, but I understand why people say the Onsra loud now, because this thing just quiet as a church mouse. So that's pretty cool. The motors seem to have plenty of punch and plenty of power down low. Like when you first start off in GTR mode, it hits. It really gets up and goes when you first start. With that being said though, up hills, this thing struggles. It's struggling uphill. There was a hill on this ride that granted it was really steep, but even in GTR mode with full throttle pinned, I could only do 8 miles an hour up the hill. And that takes me back to Evolve. Why didn't you include the 38T pulleys in the box? It has to cost you $10, $15 max to include the 38T pulleys with 2 sets of belts for that and 2 sets of belts for the 32T pulleys. It doesn't cost you much, and it really would have helped out the end user. So I don't like the torque going uphill. The brakes work awesome. Even downhill, the brakes work awesome. The biggest complaint, so the board itself, I absolutely love. So almost everything about the board itself, I absolutely love. Minus the gearing, which I'm going to change anyway. But the board itself, I absolutely love. What I don't like so far is number one, the uphill torque, and number two, this remote. I think the board is worth the money that you spend until you start using this remote. Now overall, like, I can get used to the gas and the brake being on different finger. I can get used to that. I do like the display, but there's things about this remote that I despise. So number one, I guess the board / remote, it doesn't go in reverse, which, okay, I hardly ever use reverse anyway. But it doesn't go in reverse. It doesn't display your total miles. Why? Why doesn't it? Only displays your trip miles. And even if you go into the setting and stuff like that, you can't get to a screen that displays the total miles. It won't tell you. So unless you log them yourself or do some crazy cheat code that a subscriber told me about, you know, up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start type stuff, you can't see the total miles. And when you do that cheat code, you're actually going into like the programming of it, and you can really mess up your remote and have to reset it, factory reset it, whatever you want to call it. I'm also not a fan of the double trigger. I can get used to it, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. So if I had a choice, I'd rather have the scroll wheel, you know, the thumb wheel. I'd rather have that. But yeah, I can get used to this eventually. The top speed, the acceleration, everything good about this board. It actually fits a little bit better with my riding style, because I think the top speed around 26-ish on the street wheel. I'll test that out, but I think that that's what it is. It's around 26. So that kind of fits my riding style better. It'll be interesting to see when I gear it down to help me with hills, if that makes a big difference on the torque, if it's even rideable in GTR mode. So that takes me to the app. So I was all excited that you can get an app and kind of custom program your board. I gotta say that I'm not a fan of the app, and here's why. So number one, the programming is just limited to, you can only set, yep, this is where I gotta turn. Sorry, I'm a little lost. But you can only set it to like generic defaults. So you have your beginner mode, you know, you have your three main modes, your eco mode, what they call it, eco, pro, GTR, and then the custom. And all you can do is use this little dial to put the custom, the one custom mode that you get, you can put it in between any of those. I would really have liked to see where I could independently say, okay, I want a little bit less acceleration but a lot more braking power. I wish I could independently customize the brakes and the aggressiveness of the power, because then changing the pulleys wouldn't be a problem. I could dial back the acceleration when I put lower gearing on it, dial back the acceleration, but then increase the braking so I can fine tune it. In addition to that, the app's not really working right. So I'm messing around with it. I tried to use it to document one of my rides, but it was kind of at the end. Well, I told it to stop documenting the ride or stop with the GPS, and like 3 hours later my phone notifies me that it's still running GPS. So I kept opening the app and closing it, and I have it set to where it can only use GPS when the app is open. I kept opening the app and closing it, and it wouldn't go away. I ended up just uninstalling it. It was glitching out. So I'm not a huge fan of the app that Evolve has. If you've had other experiences, comment below. If you love it, tell me why. And if there's something that I can do to try it again and love it just the same as you, then I'll reinstall it. But for right now, I'm not even using it. So that pretty much sums up the first impression. The board I absolutely love. The remote I absolutely don't like. But overall, I'm really happy with my purchase. I think just the build quality of the board, I think it's really going to handle, you know, the abuse that I put it through really well. I think it's going to hold up well. I just wish they would polish a couple things, what they include in the box and this remote, and not having the total miles on the board. I wish that they would polish some things. Hopefully that's a firmware update, and if they get enough feedback, then they'll change it. All right, so that sums that up. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my ride. Let's do a quick wrap up. So the second half of the trip, the board says 9 miles. I think the first half went around 10, and then I shut the board off, so I only get the trip miles. So I think 19 miles total today. I still have 33% on the board, and surprisingly the remote is still fully charged. So if you're wondering if the remote's gonna die on a ride, not if it's fully charged. It hasn't even lost 1 bar. Now, I was messing around a little bit, and I was on a road, there were cars behind me, so I kind of kicked it up into top speed, see how fast I can go. Down a hill, I hit 25 miles an hour according to the remote, and then I decided to apply a little bit of brake. So I just applied a little bit like this. So on this board, the faster you go, the more aggressive the brakes become, which I don't like. This should be full brake. No matter how fast I'm going, that should be full brake, just like in a car, right? It doesn't matter how fast you're going in a car, the brakes are the same regardless. I barely touched it like that, and it almost kicked me off the front of the board. So much so, I have the trucks pretty loose for carving. It unsettled my weight, so it threw all my weight forward, and I got death wobble at 25 miles an hour. So I almost came off of this board today. It's something that I have to be cognizant of now. So whenever I'm above 20 miles an hour now, I lean way back and I barely apply the brake. But the brakes are really aggressive at high speed. I wish at least halfway through the cycle. I mean, I don't know why it does that, but I think all boards kind of do that. It's just really, really obvious on the Evolve. The GPS decided to pause itself. I had pulled up Google Maps because I was kind of lost on the new trail, and I'm not sure if that made it to where the GPS and the app that I'm using paused itself, but it did. It paused itself. So besides guessing on the 10 and 9 miles, I have no clue how far I went. Somewhere around there, somewhere around 19 to 20 miles. We'll do a full range test probably in the next couple of videos, and maybe I'll bring 2 phones or something and run 2 different GPS, and just in case one of them decides to not read like this time. So tell me what you think. Tell me what tests that you want to see. I'm already going to cover the distance, acceleration, braking. My next video will have a lot of that stuff in it, next couple videos. So I'm already going to cover all of that. I'm going to show the carving of the board. I'm going to cover the main things, but if there's something specifically that you want to see, let me know. I do have 105 cloud wheels on order for this board. So went through cloud wheels and got the entire pulley belt, cover, and wheel set, because unlike the Onsra, you can't put bigger wheels on this without replacing or modifying or completely removing the covers. So you can see how close the 97s are to the cover. You have to replace those. So I got all that stuff coming from cloud wheels. I will be doing tests on those. Thanks again to all my subscribers. Thanks for all your comments. Let's throw this, I'm going to mess with this app. I'm going to try to throw it up right now.